Hey guys, welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi guys.
And tonight we're reviewing that unaired pilot that was going to go on to being a TV series, Mockingbird Lane.
It was an aired pilot, but just didn't go anywhere, was it?
Yes.
Whatever.
And it was released in year 2012.
Yeah, it
sadly,
was an aired pilot, but it was a pilot for an episode which didn't get off the ground.
Shame, then.
Shame. However, we think it's good.
Yes.
And if you can get a copy of it, we'll talk about accessing it later on, but if you can get a copy of it, it's a really good fun thing. It only goes about 39 minutes, they were going to pad that to be an hour show if they got into production, but it never did. So anyway, do you want to go into an overview of it?
Yes, let's just talk about who directed, written it, and starred in it.
Okay, the idea was developed by Bryan Fuller, who also wrote it and directed it.
Yeah.
He didn't direct it. Another Bryan, a Bryan Singer did the direction of it. He was, Bryan, same spelling of the Bryan. What a small world. Well, there you go then.
Okay, now moving on to starring.
Now, stars. Interesting lineup of stars.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is that the costumes and makeup for the characters were heavily toned down for this to make it more resembles humans.
This was like a spin-off of the original Munsters, the TV series. Now, they still carry the same theme. Herman was the Walking Dead, but he looked like the man next door who had a scar on his neck and that sort of stuff. And really looks really hot.
Yeah,
and dressed in normal clothes, sort of.
Yeah, and not the terrifying Daughter of Darkness type
she's
one.
really nice. If anyone's going to bite you on the neck, it's going to be either her or Elvira. I'm not quite sure which one.
Of course, go on, you were saying.
And Marilyn's really interesting too. She looks like a Marilyn Monroe come Wednesday Addams type, you know?
Yeah, and even in modern day, the modern day world, she's still wearing the 90s, 60s outfits.
She's got that old style clothing, but gee, she's hot looking lady. But we'll get on to her in a minute when I go for the actors. Now, here we go. Jerry O'Connell plays Herman Munster. A man of many parts. No.
Good one.
He's a dad, obviously the main lead role. Herman, Frankenstein type monster. Now, I won't go into too much about that because we'll talk about that in the movie.
Yes.
Portia de Rossi plays his lovely wife, Lily Munster. She is very beautiful, attractive, and sexy in this role, unlike the one portrayed in the TV program of Yvonne De Carlo.
Oh, didn't you tell me just when we were out to this earlier on that you said something about that another star was going to take over for a role, but
I'll talk about that in a minute.
Well, tell it anyway.
That's in my other notes. Okay, crikey. Give me a moment. Casting. Where are you? Crikey. Okay. Yeah. Mariana Clavino was supposed to be playing Lily Munster, but she was unavailable. I believe she had a contract. Doing another project called Devious Maids or something or other, and she couldn't do it, so they offered it to Portia de Rossi, or she applied for it or whatever. But anyway, she got the role. Look, they're both attractive ladies. They probably would have both done a sterling job if the series took off.
Yeah.
So anyway, irrespective, Portia de Rossi plays Lily. Now, Charity Wakefield plays Marilyn Munster. Like I said, she's a cross between Marilyn Monroe and Wednesday Addams, because in the TV series she was a nice little goody two-shoes girl with a weird family, and in this one she's a bit bent.
Yeah, because as Mike pointed out already, in the old version she's natural and she can blend in better.
The beautiful girl next door type stuff.
Well, in this one, she doesn't blend in.
She's a beautiful axe murderer next door almost. You know.
She's strange, is what we're talking about.
Now,
More than strange, just a bit weird.
here is the interesting guy. Eddie Izzard. Now, he's been in a few things here and there I've seen over the period of time. He plays Grandpa, the head. Well, he's the main vampire, nasty guy in the show.
And unlike his
he got a thirst like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, and unlike his grandpa in the TV series, the old one, this one is a little bit more darker and a bit more sinister.
Yeah, he's into drinking a lot and manipulating people. You know,
Yes.
So he's an interesting person, and we'll talk about him in a minute. Now, as a young guy, Mason Cook plays Eddie Munster. He's a young boy growing up. And as most kids go through puberty and then the body starts to change. Well, he's going through that change now. He doesn't know he's a werewolf in the making.
Yeah.
However, it all will be revealed by the end of the show. Anyway, I won't go anybody else there really because they're just a bit actors like next door neighbours and stuff.
Yeah, and not so many interesting people.
Yeah, but I believe the one thing, it's got here, I saw in the notes here, a guy, Perry, plays the werewolf.
Ooh.
Now, was that, who was the werewolf? Was that, did I close my eyes for a few minutes and miss the werewolf?
Maybe. I mean, maybe
I don't know.
Maybe it's a man inside the costume.
Or was it when at the beginning when the scouts? Maybe there might have been a werewolf running around the bushes there.
Yeah, that could
I don't know. But anyway, irrespective. I won't talk about anybody else. Now they're the main people, and it's an ideal cast. It works. Whoever did the casting got it right. I don't know why they can't always do it as good as this, but this was a good lineup.
Yeah,
now,
and this was released on October.
Yeah, it was a Halloween special type thing they made up,
so
with an idea of taking it to a series, but alas,
it didn't happen. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, this one is an awesome version of it.
Fun.
It's fun.
Actually, it's funny.
It's different.
A little bit of horror. It's a comedy horror. The idea is comedy horror, throw a little bit of drama into it if we got into the series, whatever, and introduce cousins and stuff, a little bit like in the Addams Family had cousins and other people, and whatever. Some people come in occasionally, occasional actors, occasional roles come in.
Oh, we didn't mention who plays Spot.
I don't know who plays a dragon.
Okay.
Cute, but Spot does make an appearance right at the end of the movie.
Yes.
Every boy needs a dog. Whatever.
So anyway, I'll jump into the story as per usual.
And take it away, Sarah.
Yeah. So the story begins where Eddie Munster is at a camp retreat with his Camp Scout troop.
He's a Boy Scout.
He's a Boy Scout, just so you know.
Not a Girl Guide.
Yes. So
would have been fun though. No.
Yeah. And while the boys are just sitting by the fire, a werewolf is prowling around, and then they start. Well, they don't get nicked off, like killed off one by one. Like this is still a family fun movie.
I don't think anyone got actually killed at that point.
No, they said something about that. They had a few rabies shots.
Yeah, they got scratched and everything, but the werewolf didn't actually get the chance to kill anybody, which was nice. But a bunch of kitties and everybody.
Yes. So anyway, they just assume it's just a baby bear attack, yada yada yada.
Well, that's what everyone said it was anyway.
So anyway, Eddie and his family, they soon leave
that area
and
relocate to San Francisco. By the look of it, there's a Golden Gate Bridge in the background.
And meanwhile, so Lily is looking for a new place for them to stay, and Marilyn. Sorry, guys.
She gets around more. She's normal looking.
Marilyn is looking for them a new place to stay. The real estate suggests this nice, cozy cottage on the wherever in Mockingbird, whatever Lane.
And she turns around. She's nice.
She sees this nice but gothic-y.
Yeah, not unlike the one in the TV series. The American
this
Carpenter
one
Gothic
is
style.
bigger and a lot more. And
it's got a nasty history about an accident or some sort of homicidal maniac used to live there
Yeah,
and kill
who killed
people and
hobos.
stuff. And he says, this is perfect.
Yeah, and the real estate guy is horrified. Like, he says, that's a horrible place. Horrible people were killed there. All that stuff.
And she's smiling.
And she
going,
says, "Oh, I don't think it's that bad." And he says, "Okay, but once the area's cleansed, like maybe get rid of the dead bodies and stuff." But she says, "My mother, my aunt, and my grandfather like it to remain not cleansed, because that's how they feel about it."
A place for everything, and everything is placed inside a
Yeah.
wall, under the floorboards.
Yeah, then they move in, and we first assume that Herman was going to be just like the Herman we all know and love in the old TV show, but we see him as just a ordinary reanimated kind of guy.
Well, actually, when they actually have the door opening and he's standing there, he's in a shadow.
Yes.
And it looks like he's got a square
silhouette.
sort of head with bolts and everything, but it's a lamp behind his head. Yeah, at the front, just outside the front door.
Yeah.
And when the light comes on, he walks forward, you see he's got a normal head, no bolts, no nothing. Yeah.
And he's dressed in
ordinary casual clothes. You know.
Yeah.
He blend in the supermarket.
And as we said before, Eddie doesn't understand why they had to leave abruptly.
Yeah. And he doesn't remember the little bear hurting people at his camp.
Yeah. So, anyway, he's a little upset they didn't get to say goodbye to any of their friends. If you may call Herman or Lily getting any friends.
Well, they could. I'm sure Lily would get a lot of friends.
Male friends, probably. So, anyway, Herman struggles with trying to tell his son the direct truth throughout this TV show.
Yeah, trying hinting, the boy's going through puberty.
TV
so those dad to son talks, everybody's changing son,
Yeah, later that night, a truck drives up to the mansion and unloads two big two big crates.
A bit like the old Dracula movies where you got a big box delivered to a house that's full of graveyard dirt and stuff.
As they lower the second one, it breaks open and these rats come tumbling out of it.
Yeah, just like a Dracula movie.
It forms the old Dracula or Grandpa in this.
Naked.
And Marilyn comes up to him and says, "Grandpa, cover yourself. What will the neighbors think?"
Very funny, very tongue-in-cheek.
Just like the what you would expect an actual
and
granddaughter
to say.
And
then the other one comes out and mist comes out of the box.
Yeah, it comes out and
it forms a beautiful Lily Munster, who's also naked.
Yeah, and then these spiders, they slowly come down off the
rafters and stuff,
and start wrapping around.
And make some nice silky clothes for her.
Yeah, using webs and stuff. It looks so extraordinary.
And I must admit, though, it was a good CGI for that one.
I loved it.
It looked really good.
Yeah, and soon enough, Herman approaches her, and Lily and him kiss, and he says, "Welcome to your new home." And of course, there's a very interesting sex scene there. I won't go into details.
We didn't actually have a sex scene. It's like a before or after. It wasn't a during. But she was actually laying on the ceiling.
Yeah. And
Herman was laying in bed.
Yeah, so...
And then she comes down, lays there, she was having a bit of a snuggle. So they might have already done it.
Yeah, anyway. They begin to discuss Eddie and how he's changing and asking questions. And they figured that maybe Grandpa would be the best person to talk about the changes that are going on. But
he's got to be like Grandpa, isn't he?
But suddenly Herman feels a pain in his heart.
Yeah.
Throughout this episode, he kind of somehow his heart's breaking or something.
Well, it's wearing out in embrace. He cares too much about everybody. He loves too much, and his heart can't stand it because he says it's his last original piece.
Yeah. And Lily says to him, "Careful, Herman. You love too hard." That's the kind of thing I love about if I had ever got married. I would love it if a man felt, really that much love for someone. Anyway, the next morning, everyone is trying to discuss what's going on with Eddie, and Eddie remains in the dark as per usual. And while Herman's just escorting him to the bus, he hears his son tell him that he knows he's lying, and
Yeah, Eddie's not stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soon enough, while Herman's walking back to the house, he suddenly develops a slight stroke, if you call it that.
His heart stops beating.
Yeah.
And he falls downstairs, or falls down in a heap, and Grandpa has to take him down to the dungeon there to re-energise him and fix him up and everything.
Yeah. So it turns into like a Dr. Frankenstein moment in the next scene.
Well,
Yeah, except a little bit more funny, with an iPad.
Yeah, it's quite funny because, I mean, when you get Herman's clothes off, he's got scars on his body and also this dirty great big zipper
on his chest here.
So he can get in easily.
Yeah, well,
it's rather funny.
Yeah, right around near his heart area, if you will.
So, easy access job, just zip him up and you're finished.
Yeah,
And
so he just reawakens and he finds that his heart is replaced by a mechanical heart thing pumping. And of course, Grandpa says, "It seems that you've broken your heart. Shame on you being so sentimental." In a naughty tone.
Absolutely. Oh.
Yes, and he's about to throw away Herman's heart in the bin, and Herman says, wait, don't throw it away. Take this thing out and put back my real heart.
That's my last original piece or something.
And Grandpa says, this thing in your chest is a thing of genius. But Herman says, put my real heart back into my chest and clean it first.
The new one was a mechanical metal one.
Yeah. Anyway, so Grandpa takes it out of the bin.
Garbage tin, gets the stuff off it.
He then remarks that Herman is attached to what things were, but what things were is now a werewolf.
Yeah.
His words, not mine. So he goes on to explain about how his son Leslie was covered in fur, and he knew exactly how to raise him. And Herman says, you hired nannies to raise him, and when he got older, he ate the nannies.
That's what he hired them for, he said.
Yes.
Boys got to start eating sometime.
Yes, anyway, he puts back Herman's heart, and he says, tell Eddie there is no baby bear. And he just puts a staple gun and staples the gun.
Staples his heart together.
Yes.
Yeah,
and he says, say
Dr.
goodbye.
Jekyll and Mr.
And he says, say goodbye to your heart. And when it goes, it will go. All the king's horsemen and all the king's men won't be back together again.
Yeah. You're going to need a fresh human heart.
So he needs a fresh heart, sadly enough.
A human one, maybe. A loving one.
Yeah, so...
The plot thickens.
So later on, we then get introduced to, Steve, one of Eddie's Boy Scout leader guys.
Yeah, he's Boy Scout leader. He's troop leader, whatever.
And he's he gets introduced to Herman, and
then Lily comes in the room, and his heart skips a beat.
Yeah, both Herman and Steve's hearts both skip a beat at the same time.
That's right. Yeah.
Hinting that maybe.
And Grandpa senses it.
Yeah. Senses that there's something there, and
he suggests, why don't we kill Steve and he can have his heart? He feels very attracted to Lily.
Yeah.
So he had a nice loving heart and everything.
Yes, anyway,
why not?
while all this is happening, Grandpa tries to explain a bit about puberty to Eddie, but in a weird way, where where a deer is just what's the word? Grazing on.
A deer is grazing and trying to explain the meaning of life.
And then a huge mountain lion
jumps on top of the deer. Yeah.
And then guess what happens? Grandpa pounces onto the actual lion.
And he says something like, it's just nature. Yeah, he got his blood dripping over his mouth. And it's really cool.
And of course, Lily tries to explain that that the circle of life is in a real bad shape, and that the reason that Grandpa is outside the circle of life is that he belongs there.
And he got his own circle.
And not to mention, Grandpa is looking at drinking again, which means...
He got a drinking problem. O positive.
And he thinks that now that Eddie's getting older, that means he must go back to drinking the real thing.
Yeah. Coke. No?
Maybe.
Sarsaparilla. No.
Yeah, so anyway, later that night, Grandpa invited Steve over for dinner, and he explains to him that Herman is going to die soon, and he's going to be needing Lily and Eddie to be well looked after.
And he's trying to give him the idea that he could take over Herman's place as the head of the household. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Folks?
So anyway, they sat down for dinner, and Lily and both Herman are a little uncomfortable by the situation.
Not knowing what Grandpa's got planned.
Yes, of course. So Lily takes Herman down to the secret hiding hole underneath the staircase.
Have a chit chat
to talk to him, and she asks him flat out, "Why is that man in our house?" And Herman explains that he's there to take his heart, and Grandpa wants to drink his blood.
He's thirsty. Yeah, what?
Yeah, and of course, she then goes on to say that that Herman should tell Eddie about what he is, and because she didn't feel like she had the heart to tell Eddie, and Herman reveals to Lily that he doesn't have the heart either because his heart is very badly damaged. So he reveals it to her, and she sees his heart hurting a lot.
That's poor Herman. He's a nice guy in this.
He then tells her goes on to say,
real family man.
Yes, and he goes on to say that he loved how this heart felt. It felt about Lily, about Eddie, and about Marilyn, and less about Grandpa.
Yeah, he loves Lily, and he puts up with Grandpa.
Yes. Well, he's family.
He's family.
So anyway,
so you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends.
Yeah. Well, so they get back out into the dining area, and Marilyn tries to take Steve and get him out of the house while Herman takes Eddie to talk about the changes, and Lily decides to stay with her father, who disappears.
Yeah, he disappears.
Yeah.
Suspicious, hey, folks.
Yeah, and while Marilyn is escorting Steve out, guess who comes knocking at the door? But Grandpa.
And he's vampire. He's mutated vampire as a demon-looking vampire thing with bat wings and stuff. And,
like a gargoyle or something.
Not a gargoyle. Well, maybe no, just like a really horrible, really Batman thing.
With real
naked. But you can't say anything, folks. So it's clean.
Eventually,
okay,
Marilyn accidentally knocks Steve into the hidden stairwell.
Yes.
And
which Grandpa intentionally opened up behind him.
And he stumbles down, and you hear groaning and a lot of breaking glass.
Yeah, and you think, okay, so they're going to get the heart, and Grandpa's going to get a drink.
Yes.
And then it goes, fade to black.
Not quite.
Almost. No.
Herman goes to Eddie and tells him
right.
about the changes and about the fact that he
That's
was
right,
the baby bear that attacked the Cub Scout troop.
That's right.
And he explains that Eddie could still be Eddie, but every full moon he's going to be a werewolf, so he has to be very careful.
So they get him a little pet lined up to help him.
Shh, not too fast, Mike.
Okay.
So anyway, while they're on the roof, just so you know.
Yeah, the roof's a very good place for talks.
Yeah, and the next minute we find out his heart's completely broken and he falls off the roof.
Oh, that's right.
And then the next minute we fade in and we see Grandpa drinking some blood from the decaying Steve inside the heart apparatus that he invented for Herman, and Herman's on another slab that he's now patched up with Steve's heart.
Yeah,
and
nice.
And of course, Grandpa says, "Et voila, good as new. I know I am." And he looks a little bit more younger, Grandpa, in this bit.
Yeah, some fresh blood. Yeah, really.
Yeah, throughout
fresh
this episode, he looked very old, but now he looks a little younger.
Revitalized.
Yes. So we now know that dear old Steve is not coming back for a sequel.
Well, a bit of him is.
Yes. So
I'll carry him in here forever. So no.
Yes, so to speak. So soon enough, we then see Herman, Lily, and Eddie discussing Eddie's condition and how they have brought a creature that will look after him every time the full moon occurs, and he'll be protected and well looked after
Yeah.
with it.
And what we see is a semi-invisible dragon.
Yeah, it starts off invisible, and then we see it in its full form.
Yeah, it's a fire-breathing one as well. Harry Potter would be pleased with this one.
Yes,
Yeah.
and of course, we all know what's going to happen. This is going to be Spot. We know the story. This is, and he's going to stay under the stairs, just like
in the
we
TV
established.
series, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then we fade out. The end.
Okay, then we fade to black. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah, I still wish it would have been great if this series took off. I found out when I was looking up. Oops.
You dropped my notes on the floor.
Sorry.
You're sorry. I can't pick them up. I got to fall back.
Yes. So I found
Anyway.
out while I was looking up information about the possible series. This is what I found out. If the series took off, Bryan had a lot of ideas for the shows, including meeting members of the extended family, including Uncle Leslie, who Grandpa mentioned in this pilot. There would have been a sort of a whole episode flashback where we were back in time to see how Grandpa and Lily were involved in the events of Phantom of the Opera.
Interesting.
Further developments of Lily's sister and their relationship, including how Lily adopted Marilyn.
Yeah.
According to a preview in Entertainment Weekly, there were plans for relatively based on the creature from the Black Lagoon and the Invisible Man to appear had the show had been picked up for a series.
No.
That's a drag, really, when I think about it.
Yes, but just dropping back there a little bit. Eddie Izzard was the first one they actually cast.
Really? That's interesting.
Now, I'm just wondering whether they thought, well, we need somebody weird to play the grandpa guy, and maybe something Eddie Izzard to probably carry that one quite well. Because it's probably, I suppose Herman and Lily are the main ones, but Grandpa is almost the main one too. He's not really just and also ran in the background. He's got a very dominant part in the series, and a lot of crap happens around him. So maybe they said, okay, you've got to get an interesting bod, and that was the interesting bod.
Yeah, the one thing I liked about his character was when he introduced himself to the neighbors, he actually creates some special cookies using a little bit of blood. I don't know what the cookies' name are. What are they called?
I don't know. Jam drops, like a jam drop, you get a little bit of jam in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Well, he poured blood in the middle of them.
Yeah.
So
he
would know?
turned one of the his neighbors into a blood
Bit of a slave.
Sort of like
for him.
like a little bit like Renfield, if you will.
Yeah, a bit like very much. Oh, I never thought about that, Mr. Renfield.
Oh,
Now, that's one other thing. Let's move on a little bit. A lady called Charity Wakefield played Marilyn. Now, she's British. I didn't notice a very heavy British accent, though.
Yeah.
But she is very demure, and she took over that role, and she got something about her. Like she's got the nice blonde hair. She's not really blonde, I don't think.
Not really.
But she looked like that Marilyn Monroe sort of thing. The way that the original Marilyn looked very nice, and a little blonde, bit of bob blonde hair sort of thing. Looked really nice.
I gotta admit though, even though this movie this pilot episode took place in the probably in the present, she probably still felt out of the felt like
she had an oldish conservative charm about her.
Yeah, which means that she just might be inherited some of her family's genes of sorts. Living like immortals or something like that.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe she's immortal too.
Maybe she's not. I don't know. Maybe it never comes out.
No.
Even in the TV series.
It's true.
She thought she was the ugly one and the strange one because she didn't blend in with the rest of the family.
That would have been interesting if they did do this series. We could have found out a little bit more about how Marilyn was always depicted as ugly. It would have made for an interesting idea. Even though in the other one, it was pretty much flat out. They thought she was the ugly duckling while they were semi-okay looking.
Yeah. But whatever. Actually, I was reading, I read somewhere that Bryan Fuller described Herman Munster as essentially a zombie in a constant state of decay.
Wow.
And that would have been interesting. Oh, let's replace another bit of him during the season that something's fallen off or something or other.
Yeah, maybe an ear.
An ear or a leg, whatever.
Whatever.
So
Yeah. Another interesting thing is that this is not the only unaired one. Well,
it wasn't an unaired. You keep saying unaired. It was made as a Halloween special.
This was the This is not the only pilot special that got rejected for a TV series.
Yeah, it wasn't taken up. Yeah.
Yeah, they did do one back in that was an unaired pilot that was done in 1964, and both Alan Lewis, who played Grandpa,
Lewis,
and Fred, what's his name?
Fred Gwynn.
Who they came back to make their appearances as themselves in those characters,
Yeah.
while the rest of the cast was replaced by different other actors. So I could tell you that.
Yeah. But Fred Gwynn made a really good Frankenstein.
I
or
could
Herman,
admit.
whatever you want to call him. He had he was a tall man anyway, and when he put the gear on him and all the makeup, he looked the part in a comical way, obviously.
Yeah.
And Yvonne De Carlo made a very nice motherly Mrs. Munster. Yeah, she's a very nice mum, looking after a little family.
Yeah,
and
and
everything.
this
It's cute.
this pilot episode, it's interesting. In this one, it reveals a bit of a backstory to Marilyn. Like, was her mother a vampire too, or was she human even? With her too, which is question in both the series when you think about it.
Well, the TV series, I don't think it's ever mentioned that she was just Uncle Herman and Aunt Lily. That was it. But no one gave any indication of why she's there. So
it just said that Marilyn was. Her grandpa said that her mother wanted a baby, and then she wanted to eat that baby.
Yeah. So
Hint.
hint. Yeah.
Meaning
so
there was
they adopted her.
bit of a relief on her part. Doesn't say whether her mother may have died or maybe she's still out there and all that. When you say, Mike?
They don't mention of her, so I can't. I would guess that she's out there somewhere.
Yeah. And would have made for an interesting reunion for Marilyn to meet her mother.
On her 21st birthday or something.
Considering that she's dresses for the 1960s, she may be immortal too. I'm only guessing.
Not necessarily. But
maybe.
You're just jumping in. She dresses in a conservative manner, indicative of the 60s conservative, not 60s hippies. It's a very nice dresses and clothing or whatever. She looks very nice. I mean, if she came up to my door, knocking on the door right now, and I wouldn't say, you're wearing an old dress.
Well, 1950s or I'm not sure.
50s, okay. I wouldn't say, oh, look, you're wearing an old dress. No, I wouldn't even care about the dress. So, she's just got a style about her.
Yeah, true.
Like Gothic people have a style about them and the way they wear their clothes,
Yes, so...
You're focusing too much clothing.
Yes, sorry about that. So I found out why they kind of didn't... Who made the snap decision to not make a whole series about it. According to this, it was actually NBC chief...
Yeah, Robert Greenblatt.
He said of their decision to pass the series, he said, we just decided that it didn't hold together well enough to yield the series. It looked beautiful and original and creative, and everything. We felt great about the cast, but we tried to make it not just a sitcom. We tried to make it an hour, which ultimately had more dramatic weight
than a half hour
show.
Which made good. You can develop the storylines better.
It's hard to collaborate how much weirdness versus supernatural versus family story. I just think we didn't get the mix right.
Yeah, which is fair enough. I mean, I'm not going to knock the guy who wrote it. I'm not going to knock the people from NBC, but somewhere on the line, someone's got to sit down there and be a bit more creative and say, hey, we might be able to run with this.
I just wish they could invite... Years ago, they could invite audience members to watch it and say yay or nay about it, or something.
Yeah, I mean, you get a show like, and I'm not knocking shows, please don't get me wrong, but you get all the sitcoms. You got Two and a Half Men, you got the Golden Girls, you got the Family Man, all the Family Ties. Some of those shows are reasonably good. Some are average. I mean, I'm not going to do a whole list of them, and some are just downright boring, lucky to last a season. This would have been in the mix there quite. I'd go in the mix quite strongly and actually could have padded that to be 2 or 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
they
know
still,
I would
they
buy
turn out this other rubbish and say, oh, that didn't work. They get lucky to get a season out of it.
Yeah, at least make one season and then realize if it's worth a second season. That's how it works.
See, one skit and one funny bit might lead on to some more imagination, and they just start their media book saying, hey, we can bring that in later, and we bring that in later, and they can develop as they go along a bit. But I don't know. It's just me, but I've seen some sitcoms on TV which have been, what do you put it? If you're in need of a sleeping pill, watch one of these shows. Because they're downright boring and so repetitive all the way through them. This could have been fun.
Yeah, I would have had fun. It would have been great to see their struggles, their dealings with family matters, stuff like
and all
that.
the weird shit that Grandpa gets up to, and any weird cousins which come to visit.
Yeah.
Albeit the Invisible Man or the Creatures from Black Lagoon.
Or even Lily's, Marilyn's mum, maybe.
Cameo from Mummy who tried to eat her when she was a baby. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, just interesting storylines they could have developed. But, they lost the opportunity, and now it's a bit too late because, it would have been funny back in, 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2012.
Yeah, and now that's 8 years has gone past, and people's tastes start to change a bit. And, that would have been good.
And didn't you say before we were getting out to the car earlier that you said something about that if they did it, another sitcom of doing this TV show, and you said that maybe it's too late for.
Yeah, sometimes too. Part of putting a show together is not just the story; it's the actors. The storyline obviously is important, but if you get the right mix of actors, it'll bring the script to life. They had a really good lineup in this, and if you say, "Hey, this is great," let's put somebody else in, the mix might not have worked. It could have been a weaker cast. I'm not saying that actors can't jump in there and make it interesting, but Eddie Izzard made a really, really weird, funny, strange, sinister grandpa type. Now, I don't think you get too many of those hanging around.
Yeah, and I like the beady neighbors. One of the neighbors in this was a little bit of a paranoid woman who probably is.
She's stuck in a wheelchair.
Yeah, she's stuck in a wheelchair, and she might be one of those busybodies type people.
Yes, she's suspicious about the neighbors.
And she may go on in the series to be suspicious of them for causing her husband nearly dying on her.
Well, yeah, painting their house. He wouldn't do anything around their house, but he's out there painting that. You see what? He wouldn't do anything for her, but he's out painting their house for them. Of course, Grandpa's manipulating him, isn't he?
Yeah, using those magical cookies.
Yeah, and he had a big tray of them sitting there when he's painting the roof, painting the house. Yeah,
that was funny.
You just keep it up, Yeah.
I certainly liked it when he says that to Herman. A good heart will not just fall from the sky, and guess what?
The guy fell off the ladder. Oh Lord! But then someone called the ambulance, and they revived him.
Well, I think it was Herman. He said that, Grandpa says, "Oh, you really do have a good heart. You called an ambulance."
Yeah. And they brought him back together using a defibrillator.
Yes.
Oh, what a waste of a good heart. Poor Grandpa just couldn't understand it. Yeah.
Well, what else do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so I really wish they could have made this in a series.
Yeah, but anyway, matter.
I could have enjoyed it, and I could have bought season 1 and season 2 on DVD, and maybe even buy a few of the accessories along the way too.
Yeah. Now, before we do Wendy winding up, okay.
Or more whining.
The more whining. This has been available on Amazon, but it currently isn't available.
Damn.
Okay, no, it may come again. Okay, it was just saying it's been there. It's not available at the moment. So just keep an eye on Amazon if you want to have a look at it. It's not on eBay. I had a look. It is still available as a torrent. I don't normally say go for a torrent, but if there's nowhere else to go, hey, but it's only about one seed, so you may or may not get it.
Hey, just a thought. You know that Joseph Stefano TV show that you mentioned to me a while back?
Which one?
About that the investigator investigating.
Oh, the haunted.
Yeah. Well, and that what is it? The haunted?
The Ghost of Sarah Cobra.
Yeah, that one. That was going to be a TV series episode, and that one you said to me earlier a while back was not.
Instead of giving it second hand, okay. Way back in about 1964, Joseph Stefano was involved in a prospective new TV series called The Haunted. Now, it's supposed to be I think, half hour. No, an hour show. In fact, you'll have adverts for, let's say, 50 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever. And all these are going to be based on psychic supernatural investigations, I would presume by the same main actor.
Yeah.
Which was Martin Landau. Now, when they did the first episode, the TV production TV studio, whatever, said, "Hey, it's a little bit too scary and weirdo, and we didn't want to do it." So they canned the idea after doing the first one.
Yeah.
But to save money on it and recoup a few dollars, they did a bit of extra footage, made into about an hour and a half movie, and. I wouldn't say it's a cult movie, but it's been around for so long, and it finally came out just a couple of years ago. I have been waiting for the past 10 or 15 years looking for this one.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I'm a little worried that this, with Mockingbird Lane, it's going to head in that similar direction, and we may not even have it until 20 or 30 years until later in the future. And then somebody
gets it out of the vault and say, "Oh, I'll dust it off and have another look at it." Or it's going to do the rounds of some film festivals or some universities or something or other. Let them out of the bag. Let people watch these things. I mean, I collect movies partly to watch, but partly to save them from disappearing.
Yeah. I mean, we established, guys, in the past that we're all about trying to resurrect old movies and talk about them, here and there, to that you guys can try to find these movies and be able to save them before they disappear. Some of the new ones we do, but we're starting to do some slightly older ones. I want to do some really, really old ones, because some of you young guys out there who, I'm not saying you don't look at old movies, but I mean, if I mentioned Dr. Caligari to a lot of the young guys, you're going to say, "Huh?" Well, it's a silent movie. I can't remember who did. I can't remember who did it at the moment. But it's a good silent movie, and it still holds up today. Yeah, it holds a lot of water.
And you're going, if you don't mind, if you're going to sit down there and watch a foreign movie with subtitles, it's not much different to watching a silent movie with flashcards. And if you watch it, you'd be really dragged into some of these old movies because they were well done. The likes of Fritz Lang started off doing silent movies, and then he went to America and started making talkies. Yeah. But back in that period, these guys were talented men.
Yeah, I've seen Cabinet of the
Dr.
Caligari, and I would definitely say that this one has what you would maybe call it the most extraordinary twists in the movie.
It's a really weird. Alfred Hitchcock would have been so proud of it.
So this would have been before any other twist-related movies you may think of. That would have been the ultimate twist.
Yeah, but the point is that it's a lot of movies disappear, and we want to bring these people's attention so people can
want to resurrect
look at them and see them and maybe get copies of themselves so these things do not disappear.
Yeah, we want to exhume these.
Exhume, that's a good word. It's like digging up a body.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, we're exhuming old movies as well as new movies, and make sure that the ones that are either long lost or forgotten will still be able to be found in the future.
Look, I've got thousands of movies. I mean, if I told you how many I had, you probably wouldn't believe me. But I'll tell you what, I've got almost 6,000 movies in my collection. I'm an archivist. Okay, it's my personal stash of movies. I have not watched them all. I haven't got that much time, but I'm collecting them for the future. Because the problem is when they get an old movie and no one's watching anymore, they destroy the copies. And there's so many old movies which have gone by the wayside, and there's no copies anymore.
Yeah, and if
and
you
the
do,
celluloid's broken down.
and if you ever do find them again, you'll be finding one of those ones that someone might upload it on YouTube, and it's
crappy.
And it's really a very bad damaged
can't-
copy,
yeah.
and you won't be able to get a proper layout of the actual footage.
I mean, there was an old movie. Okay, what was it? The Ghoul, I think, with Boris Karloff in it. They found an old copy in a European library or museum, stuck down in the cellar in an old box. And they found it, and they rebuilt the current print we've got going around from that one there. I think it might have had subtitles on it originally, but they got rid of the subtitles. They had I think they tarred up the soundtrack a bit, but there's bits missing out of it because there's all damaged footage.
Yes.
But it's one copy in the whole world of this one movie which they've been able to salvage.
Yeah.
And I hate to see any halfway decent movie
Or TV
disappear,
pilot
or
disappear.
or anything go into parts unknown because we don't care.
Yeah,
Or
and
end up in a vault and no one sees it for the next 20 or 30 years, and then we'll just have a clean out and throw it away.
the ghost of the haunting
Sierra
one.
de Cobra,
I do think that was out of line when they decided to not release it for the next, say, 30 years.
It was trade around. People would get it and then say, "I'll keep it here." Somebody might buy a print of it, off somebody else, and put it in their vault, and it was just hanging around for decades.
That's what I mean. It was just bad behavior. I mean, back then it may have been scary, but now it's not scary.
It's interesting.
It's interesting.
Like a suspense thriller almost.
It's like those rare movies you may be looking for now, who are trying, to get inspiration for newer movies.
Yeah, exactly right.
Old movies inspire new creativity.
Yeah, I mean, even if the movie's only halfway decent, but watchable, it spurs the imagination on for other movie writers and directors and producers. Hey, gee, I like that. That might stimulate some grey matter, and they might do something similar but better.
True.
If they don't see these old ones, it's not like reading an old novel from about, say, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Say, hey, that wasn't too bad. Maybe I can make a film script out of this.
Yeah, and it's just sometimes I've noticed whenever I try to look up for an old book, most of them would become so rare, they would cost so expensive.
Yeah. It's weird. Anyway, irrespective, we are digressing
and usually
here too much.
old print when you think about it.
We are digressing here.
Okay, well, digressing
we are
again.
talking about,
so let's just talk about Mockingbird Lane, the pilot episode, and say how much we rate this one.
Well, I reckon as a pilot for a TV series, it's only 39 minutes. From what I saw of the potential it had, I've got to give it 9.5. It's great. Some people won't necessarily like because they're expecting either to be like the TV series. It's a standalone new series with a slightly different bent, and that you got to take that into consideration. That's why I think it's 9.5.
I would say 9.5 too. It seems really worth looking at.
Yeah. Trying to get a copy, folks. I mean, like I said, there's only one seed on it as a torrent. And Amazon, it's not currently available.
Yeah, as much as I want you guys to go out and get a DVD of this, I just...
if they're not available, but to try to do it legally the right way first. But if it all fails, then do a torrent because it's going to disappear. And
you don't want this movie to disappear on you guys. No, Trust me, I'm an expert.
They're actually movies only 39 minutes long. You call them movies. It's pilot.
It was pretty interesting.
Mini feature, whatever.
I thought it was just pretty interesting.
I like it.
And you don't want to miss it, guys, because if this movie disappears off torrent, we will be probably waiting for 30 years till it's ever going to be seen on DVD.
I'll be dead by the time it comes out of the vault.
And you don't want that, do you guys?
Nah.
No, you don't.
Nah. Anyway, That's about it for us. I
Yeah,
think.
so
We did
thanks for
talk a bit,
listening.
didn't we?
Yeah, so thanks for watching this latest podcast,
They're
guys.
not watching it. They're listening to
Okay,
it.
listening to it. And this is Sarah Stephenson
And Michael Stephenson.
saying, see you around, guys.
Bye, guys.